Hello, sports fan. It's me, Sportsman Z, and I am here tonight with Game 5 of the 1978 World Series. And much to my chagrin, the series is tied at 2 games apiece. So it's looking like these guys are going to go the distance. And that means several more nights of playing the 1978 World Series. The alternate World Series, because this features the 1978 Royals against the 1978 Dodgers. If you've been following along, and it's in my channel, so you can go back and look at previous games, the Boston Red Sox actually won the 1978 one-game playoff against the Yankees in this alternate world with Strat-O-Matic baseball. And then the Red Sox went on to lose to the Kansas City Royals in the ALCS, which put the Royals in the World Series. And the Dodgers did beat the Phillies just as they did in real life in this alternate world. So we find ourselves now where the Royals are playing the Dodgers in the World Series, and the series is tied at 2 apiece. And pitching for the Dodgers, and we are still in Kansas City, this is the last game in Kansas City. Pitching for the Dodgers will be Don Sutton. And strangely, I think this is Don Sutton's first appearance of the postseason, but there's his card. And he'll be going up against Dennis Leonard. And if you missed it, Dennis Leonard actually pitched a no-hitter against the Boston Red Sox in the 1978 Alternate World ALCS, and I believe it was Game 2 of that series. So you should go check that out, because no-hitters happen very rarely in real life, and they're even rarer, I think, in Strat-O-Matic baseball. So anyway, without further delay, let's get on with this series. Davey Lopes will be leading off. If you've been following along, you know that Davey Lopes has tried to steal several bases this series, and he's been gunned down nearly every time. So he gets a 4-7 off of Leonard's card, and that's a ground ball to second base. The second baseman is Frank White, who's a 1. That's an out. So Lopes grounds out 4-3. That brings up Bill Russell, the shortstop. He gets a 6-5, and that's a walk on Dennis Leonard's card. So he gets on with a base on balls. And that's the first base runner of the game. And that brings up Reggie Smith. And Reggie Smith gets a 4-4, which is a ground ball second base C. But that moves Russell to second. So he gets a fielder's choice. And then that moves Ron Say up to the plate. And he gets a 6-9, which is a double, and scores a run. So Ron Say ripping a D, and he scores the shortstop Bill Russell. Russell scores a run. The RBI goes to Say, the Penguin, and now he's at second. And that was a hit and an earned run on Leonard's card, and that brings up Steve Garvey, and he gets a 4-7, which is a ground ball to second base, and that is Frank White, who's a 1, and that is an out. So he goes 4-3, but the Dodgers strike for a run and lead 1-0 after the first half inning of the game. That brings up Willie Wilson for the Royals, and he gets a 3-8, which is a single. And Willie Wilson has actually had his own problems trying to steal, although that was mainly when Yeager was still catching, and now he is not catching. Willie Wilson's double A. He's going to try to steal second. And he gets a 15 and he's gunned. Oh, wait a minute. No, he barely makes it because Ferguson is only a -1 arm. So, yeah, he gets a stolen base. So, with Willie Wilson at second and no outs, Amos Otis steps in and he gets a 3-8, which is a pop out to second. Pop out to 4. And that brings up George Brett. And George Brett gets a 2-5, which is a single with 1 asterisk, so runners are at the corners. And that's a second hit given up by Sutton. And that brings up, with only 1 out, Hal McRae. And the infield will be back, but that's a 4-5, which is a ground ball C, which does score the run. So McRae gets a fielder's choice and an RBI. And the run is scored by Willie Wilson. Earned run for Sutton on his record. And that brings up Darrell Porter, who gets a 6-10. And that is going to be a fly ball to center. The center fielder is Reggie Smith, and he is a 3. And that's a 16. 16 and 3 in the outfield is an out 4, and that will be the inning. So Porter flies out to 8. But Kansas City ties the game. Of course they do. So that brings up the LA Dodgers and Rick Monday. And he gets a 5-7, which is a single on Dennis Leonard's card. And that's a hit allowed by Leonard. And that brings up Lee Lacy. And Lee Lacy gets a 3-5, which is a strikeout. First strikeout of the game for Dennis Leonard. And that brings up Joe Ferguson. And he gets a 4-2, which is the fly ball center field C. Fly out to 8. That brings up Dusty Baker, and he gets a 4-8, which is a line out to first. Line out to 3. No runs in the second. And that brings up the Royals and Al Cowens, the right fielder. And he gets a 6-5, which is a home run. He gets a home run for Cowens. And that's the run and the RBI. And the hit allowed and the earned run. And that brings up Frank White. And he gets a 2-7, which is a fly ball left field B. 1 away. Fly out to 7. Maybe we're seeing why Sutton wasn't pitching before. Clint Hurdle, 4-7, is a single. So Clint Hurdle gets a hit. Fourth hit allowed by Sutton. Freddie Patek comes up and he gets a 6-4, which is a fly ball right field C between 2 big hits. Fly out to 9, and that's 2 away with a runner at first and Willie Wilson up, and he gets a 1-3, which is a ground ball pitcher B. So 1-3, and that's it. But Kansas City did strike for a run, and now they have a 2-1 lead going into the top of the third. And that brings up Davey Lopes, and he gets a 2-5, which is a walk. So yes. Fourth guy allowed on by Leonard, 2 by walk, 2 by single, or 2 by hit, and Bill Russell's up, and he gets a 3-3, which is a ground ball shortstop A. So that's going to be a 4-6-3 double play, or a 6-4-3 double play. 6-4-3. And there's 2 away, and that brings up Reggie Smith, and he gets a 5-11, which is a ground ball first base, but that's Clint Hurdle, and he is a 4. And that's a 15. So let's see what 15 and 4 is. That's a 1 base error by Hurdle. So Reggie Smith gets on by an error 3, E3. And that's an error for going on Hurdle's record. And then that brings up Ron Say, and he gets a 2-7, which is a fly ball left field B. No runs for the Dodgers in the third. We go to the bottom of the third. In a 2-1 Kansas City lead game, and Amos Otis up, and he gets a 6-6. And that's a home run 1-3 or a double. That's going to be a double. Fifth hit allowed by Sutton. Brings up George Brett. 3-8 is a ground ball shortstop A, so that's 1 away. Nobody moves. Brings up Hal McRae, and he gets a 6-10. On Sutton is a center field, and center fielder is a 3. That's Reggie Smith. 13 and 3 is an out 4. 2 away. Fly out to 8 for McRae, and that brings up Darryl Porter. And that's a 5-9, which is a strikeout. Or wait a minute. 5, yeah, it is still a strikeout. So that's the first strikeout for Sutton. Kansas City gets none in the third. That's the first time they have a 0 inning in this game, although it's only the third. Steve Garvey leads off in the fourth. He gets a 3-5, which is a single. Hit allowed by Leonard. And Rick Monday is up, and he gets a 3-5, which is a single. He just missed getting a home run. And that moves Garvey to second. 2 runners on, no outs for Lee Lacy. And he gets a 4-9 on Leonard's card, which is a single. And that at least loads the bases. And since it's Garvey, that's all it's going to do. And they're going to play back, hoping for the double play to get out of the inning quicker with Ferguson up. And he gets a 6-10 on Leonard, which is a home run 1-18. So really, they might just be getting, and they do, a grand slam home run by Joe Ferguson. So 4 quick runs right there. And 4 RBIs. And Leonard has just given up a sizable deficit, and Dusty Baker's up with a 3-5, which is a single. So 5 consecutive guys have gotten hits off of Leonard. And Davey Lopes is up, and he gets a 2-3, which is a ground ball shortstop A. So that's going to be a 6-4-3 double play. Came a little late for Kansas City's liking, and Russell's up with a 5-9, which is a strikeout. And Leonard with the strikeout, but LA gets 4 runs there, and they take a 5-2 lead, which is not really insurmountable, but still pretty brutal. Al Cowens comes up, and he gets a 2-9, which is a ground ball shortstop. So 6-3, 1 away. Frank White gets a 6-10 on Sutton, which is a fly ball to center, and he's a 3. That's a 20 and a 3. And that's a roll again. That's a 20 and a 3, roll again. That's a 12 and a 3. That is a single and air batter on second. So with one out, Frank White gets a single, and then he goes on an 6-10, E8, and Reggie Smith gets the air. So man on second, and Sutton gave up the hit. Man on second with one out and hurdle up, and he gets a 5-9 on Sutton, which is a strikeout. Second strikeout of the game for Sutton. And Strat-O-Matic is up, and he gets a 3-7, which is a strikeout. And that is the third strikeout of the game for him. No runs there. We go to the top of the fifth. Leonard is still out there, hoping that they can hold everybody right where they are, or hold the Dodgers right where they are. 5-6 is a fly ball left field. That's one away for Reggie Smith. What was that? 6? Fly ball right. So yeah, fly out 9. That brings up Ron Say, the Penguin. 2-6 is a single. Brings up Steve Garvey. He gets a 3-7, which is a fly ball left field B, 2 away. Fly out 2-7. And that brings up Rick Monday, and he gets a 4-5, which is a strikeout. So Leonard does hold them there. That big fourth inning might be what really decides this game. But it's still only 5-2. And Willie Wilson's up, and he gets a 5-5, which is a strikeout on Sutton's card. Fourth strikeout for Sutton. Amos Otis is up, and he gets a 5-7, which is a fly ball center field B. Fly out to 8. And that brings up George Brett, and he gets a 2-9, which is a fly ball right field B. So no runs come in for the Royals in the fifth, and we go to the top of the sixth. Lacey gets a 1-11, Lee Lacey, and he gets a single. Something like the 9th hit there given up by Leonard, and Joe Ferguson's up, and he gets a 1-3, and he gets the third base A, so that's a double play, 2 out. And that brings up Dusty Baker, and he gets a 5-4, which is a third base X. The third baseman is a 2. That's George Brett. That's a 12 and a 2. It's going to be something. That's a one base error by Brett. So Baker on by an error E5. And an error for Brett. A rarity in baseball, but it does happen. And that brings up Davey Lopes, and he gets a 5-8 on Leonard's card, and that's a fly ball center field B. No runs for the Dodgers in the sixth. Bottom of the sixth, here come the Royals. Hal McRae, the DH. 6-5 is a home run. Hal McRae goes deep. And he gets an RBI and a run for that. Sutton gives up a home run. And now it's 5-3. Dodgers leading. And Porter is up, and he gets a 6-7. That's a ground ball second base. Second baseman is a, well, unless he's a 1, but he is. So that's 1 away. Davy Lopes is a 1 at second, so Darrell Porter goes 4-3. And Al Collins is up, and he gets a 4-7, which is a single. Another hit allowed by Sutton. Frank White up, 6-6, and that's going to be a home run 1-3 or a double. And that's going to be a double. And the runner is Collins. And he's a 1-16 with 1 out. Yeah, they're going to send him. And he makes it. Roll of 5. I don't have to check anything. So White does get the RBI. The run scores. White with the RBI. And another run, and now it's 5-4. And Hurdle's up. And he gets a 3-6, which is a home run 1-4 double. And that's going to be a double. So Hurdle knocks in the tying run. And so let's see. Hurdle with the RBI. And the run scored by White. And that's going to be it for Sutton. They've seen enough of Sutton, and this is the 6th, so he's gone 5 and... what is this? 5 1/3. So, that's going to bring in Terry Forster. I told you those Royals could come back, and they have. And that brings up Freddie Patek to bat against Forster. And he gets a 4-10, which is a catcher's card. The catcher is a 4. That's Ferguson. Joe Ferguson, 4 catcher. And that's a 4 roll, and that's a pop-out. So 2 away. Patek pops out to the catcher. And that brings up Willie Wilson. And Willie Wilson gets a 4-9, which is a strikeout. And Forster K's the man. But the Royals do get the tying runs. And now it is 5-all. Going to the top of the 7th. They're going to let Leonard stay out there. They think maybe he's calmed down now. Bill Russell up. And that's a 6-9. And that's a double, so they would be wrong. He didn't calm down yet. Double for Russell. Hit allowed by Leonard is the 10th hit, and that is going to be it for Leonard. So he only goes 6. And they're going to bring in Al Raboski. They're going right to the top. They need to stop it right here. So the Mad Hungarian comes in to pitch to Reggie Smith. He gets a 6-6, which is a walk. So walk by Raboski. And that brings up Ron Say the Penguin. 6-3 is a ground ball first. That is Hurdle, and he is a 4, and that's going to be a 1, which is going to be very bad. 1 and 4 is a single 2. So Say knocks in a run. RBI, run scored by Russell. Hit allowed, but the earned run goes to Leonard's record. And now Kansas City will bring the infield in. Garvey up. 4-10. That's a ground ball C. 1 away. That brings up Rick Monday. He gets a 6-12 with the infield still in, and that's a ground ball C. 2 away. Let's see, let's just check it. Yep. And so that was a fielder's choice for Monday. And Lacey up with the infield now back, and that's a 1-4 pop out to second base. So they limit the damage, but the Dodgers do take the lead again. Now by the score of 6-5. Could have been worse though, if the infield hadn't been brought in for Kansas City and cut those runs down or stopped the runs from scoring. Amos Otis up, and he gets a 2-8, which is double 1-7. He gets a single. Hit allowed for Forster, or by Forster. This is George Brett, and George Brett gets a 4-9 on Forster's card, which is a strikeout. Is it just me, or has Brett not really done well at all in this postseason? That brings up Hal McRae, and he gets a 2-5, which is a ground ball shortstop A, which is a double play. So 6-4-3. No runs for the Royals. We go to the top of the 8th. And the Dodgers up. Peterson, or no, Ferguson. There is no Peterson. 4-3 is a single one or a line out to third. That's going to be a line out to third for Ferguson. Line out to 5. 1 away. Dusty Baker gets a 4-7, which is a ground ball second base. He's a 1. That's a 9. He's out. And that brings up Davey Lopes, and he gets a 6-5, which is a strikeout on Raboski's card. So the Dodgers get no runs there. And now Kansas City is batting, and Forster 5 1/3, so 2/3, 1 2/3. He's only gone 1 2/3. I think they can get another. I think they can get another half inning out of Forster, another inning of work or whatever, however you want to put it. Porter is up, and he gets a 1-5, which is a strikeout. 1 away. And Al Cowens is up, and he gets a 1-8, which is a single. Base hit allowed by Forster. Frank White up. He gets a 2-8, which is a home run 1-3 or a double. And that's a home run. Frank White hits a 2-run home run. And I guess they were wrong about being able to get that one last inning out of him. Run scored by run scored by Cowens, and the RBI, actually 2 RBIs, by Frank White, who's been having quite the game here. Hit allowed, 2 earned runs, and the Kansas City Royals all of a sudden have the lead back. And this turn of events is kind of quick, so the bullpen isn't quite ready yet. And Hurdle's up, and he gets a 5-12, which is a fly ball right field C. Fly out to 9. And that brings up Freddie Patek, and he gets a 4-9, which is a strikeout. Forster does settle down, but not before he allows 2 to the Kansas City Royals. And so now the Royals 3, 5, 7 to 6. The Royals lead 7-6 going into the top of the 9th inning. And they are going to keep Roboski out there. He's pitched well. There's no reason to take him out. And Bill Russell's up, and he gets a 5-6, which is a double 1-7, or a fly ball. But it is a double. So, hit allowed by Roboski. Reggie Smith up. Even though it's Reggie Smith, they are going to sacrifice to move the runner over. So it's 2 dice for the sacrifice, right? Yeah. And that's a 12. No. Batter pops out into a double play. 2 away. Couldn't have been the worst thing to happen. All right, so what was that? 12, sacrifice. Batter pops out to the catcher. So 1... I don't know, 1, 5, 3, I don't know. All I know is there's 2 down now. And now they're down to their last out with Ron Say the Penguin up, and he gets a 6-5, which is a strikeout. And Roboski with the K, and Roboski goes 3 innings and actually gets the win. And let's see, he went 5 1/3, 5 1/3, 2/3. Forrester went 2 2/3, and he got the loss. So, Kansas City, there you have it. Kansas City takes the 3 games to 2 lead, and if they win Game 6, we've got a new world champion in 1978, which we will have anyway, because the Dodgers played the Yankees in actuality that year and didn't beat them. So anyway, that's it. Here's my that's it from Kansas City. We will see you again in a couple of days from LA. There's my contact information, but for right now, Sportsman Z, Bob Zolke, signing off.